After the success of the first Jak game, Naughty Dog released a sequel 2 years later and changed almost everything that defined the first game. With the success of other platform games as well as Grand Theft Auto, Naughty Dog then incorporated assets from both into Jak II, and most of it works well, but there are times when it simply does not. This time, the story begins after the ending of the first, assuming you took the time to collect all the power cells, where Jak, Daxter, Samos, and Kira prepare to travel through a Precursor portal. But this takes a sudden dark turn, which results in the four of them getting sent into the future and separated. Jak and Daxter find themselves in Haven City, where Jak is immediately kidnapped by the Crimson Guard and Daxter manages to escape. 2 full years go by, and Jak is under dark eco-experimentation for a sadistic weapons program. The ruler of the city, Baron Praxis, voiced by Clancy Brown, runs the whole operation in order to develop ways to protect the city from a race of creatures known as the Metalheads. As he leaves the room with the captain of the guard named Errol, Daxter manages to arrive and rescue Jak. Not only can Jak talk now, but he can also turn into a dark monster by collecting enough dark eco. After they escape the prison, they come across an old man named Kor and a young child who is under the protection of an underground resistance movement simply called the Underground. From there, you are introduced to a lot of great and colorful characters such as the former guard named Torn, Baron Praxis' daughter named Ashlyn, a technician named Vin who's a complete nervous wreck, an old mystic named Onan alongside her interpreter, a loud-mouthed monkey macaw creature named Pecker, a tough wastelander named Sig, and the massively overweight crime lord named Crew, who works really well as not just an antagonist but a villain in general. He's greedy, he's power-hungry, and he's simply great in every scene he's in.
Years ago, when I was an art collector, I hit the local museum to borrow a famous statue of Ma, the founder of Haven City. In his hands, the statue held the ruby key to the city, an artifact of surpassing beauty. And, of course, priceless worth, eh?
Oh, I just love art.
While smuggling the huge statue through the sewers, a grueling rainstorm flooded the whole place. The statue and 5 of my best men were swept away.
That's terrible.
Yes, a tragic loss. I've missed that statue ever since.
The overall voice acting is very solid, and so is the character development. Jak is voiced by Michael Irwin, and he gives great delivery and personality to the character. Jak is strong, hellbent, confident in his abilities, but still has a dry sense of humor, which works well in working off of Daxter. The core gameplay is still there, but a lot of new elements were added, such as vehicle segments where you can steal Zoomers from citizens and travel around the city, much like Grand Theft Auto. There's also a hoverboard that you receive about halfway through, and I'll admit, it doesn't control as good as I'd like it to. There are also 4 different guns that Jak can use throughout the game. They're welcome into the gameplay, but I wish that there was a strafe ability like in Ratchet and Clank. The Precursor Orbs make a return, but they're only used as currency to purchase secret unlockables. But the issue is that most of them are very missable since they're hidden in the most random little crevices, so that alone will take some patience. There's also a new collectible in the form of Metalhead Skull Gems that you can trade with the Oracle for new Dark Jak abilities, so that's still pretty cool. While there is a healthy variety of gameplay, a lot of it feels grinding at times, and it is true that the game can get unforgivably hard. There is sort of a balance, though, as some levels beat me to sidewalk paced, and others were more of a tender beating. A lot of these frustrating moments were usually from getting knocked off a ledge by an enemy I didn't see coming. There is very little recovery time, so there isn't a moment where you're invincible after getting hit, and checkpoints are rare, so it only adds to the difficulty. What's also strange is that Jak's health bar displays 8 slots, but most attacks and hazards take 2 slots away, leaving you 4 hits from death. So, why not just have 4 slots? I will say that Jak II easily has one of the greatest storylines I've ever experienced. I don't want to get into too much detail, but everything about it is dark, edgy, and very memorable. So if you're not blown away by the gameplay, then the story will definitely aim to please. Even though I haven't returned to it as often as Jak III, I'd agree that Jak II still holds up by today's standards, since a lot of players are very welcoming to its level of challenge, so take it for what it's worth.
The Shadows decided it's time to meet you.
Why is that place in the old ruins so important to you?
There's a powerful energy force at the old house. The Metalheads are drawn to it.
No kidding. We used to know the guy that lived there.
So, you're the new recruits who keep getting into trouble.
Oh, no, not you!
Welcome to our humble underground movement. I am known as the Shadow, but you may call me Samos. And you are?
Jeez, Jak, We went through all that to meet His Holiness, old log-in-the-head Grandpa Green?
Don't you know who we are?
Sorry, kid. Never seen you before. And I never forget a face. Especially one that ugly.
So it begins.
How is this possible? We came through the rift with you. Into the future, right?
Yeah, you used to look older than dirt and uglier than a knotted stump. What gives? Did you get a little nip and tuck while we were gone?
Listen, boys, I don't know what kind of twigs you've been chewing on, but I don't have time for this. We've got a baron to overthrow, a child heir to protect, an invasion of metalheads to stop, and a city to save. I'd say the schedule's pretty full.